Good afternoon, everybody. Bobby Cleveland here, Executive Director of Oklahoma Correctional Professionals. And today we've got back with us again, Julie Thompson. And Julie, would you mind just telling us real quick what your credentials are, what you did for DOC, how long you was there? Did you ever have any kind of discipline issues?
Oh, absolutely not. I worked for the Department of Corrections for 10 years. I started out as a field service manager at Bill Johnson's Correctional Center, and then I worked my way up through auditing and compliance. And then I also went on to do I'm a dietitian for the entire agency. I'm a registered and licensed dietitian.
Now, everybody's asking this question, so I'm going to ask you this question, and we'll go down here. Do they have to have a dietitian at the facility?
Well, law states that you're going to have a nutritionally balanced meal for inmates, but the only way to prove that is to have a dietitian. But I did see, Bob, here recently that they actually posted for the dietitian position, which has been vacant since July. Oh, really?
Well, Jason, tell us a little bit about where you come from. I know you got a heck of a story about the awards you have received in your 20 years with DOC.
Well, I had 22 years with the state. The first 18 months was with the Forensic Center. And then I transferred over to DOC back in 2003. I did 20 years with the department. During that time, I did everything from regular, officer running units and working SHU control, things like that. Then I went out on the DOT crew for 5 years, and I had a work crew. After the work crew, then I came back. I worked the armory for a little bit, then made lieutenant. Then I was the chief over at Veneta, and then I transferred over. We were a minimum, and then we transferred to a community, and then I went over to Dick Connors as the chief of security before I retired.
Now, what awards you've been given? What have you received as the work you?
Well, I was in 2005. I was Officer of the Year. I was also Officer of the Year in 2014. That year, I received the Medal of Valor also. Actually, the Medal of Valor was 2016. And I was Supervisor of the Year in 2021.
And just to make it clear, Julie quit. You was not terminated. You're not a...
No, as a matter of fact, as I had a meeting with Jim Ferris, and he was wanting me to stay. He said, I like everything that you were doing. I like the way that you do things. And they tried to get me to stay.
Now, would this be wrong to say this? You really wanted to stay another 2 years, but you also couldn't help your people, your friends. And you, when I say friends, that'd be anybody within the prison. You wanted to help them. You couldn't have your voice be heard there because you knew you'd get terminated. But now you can be able to speak freely.
Right. Yeah, my plan was I wanted to do 25 years was my plan. I wanted to do 3 more. I wanted to make deputy warden, and then I wanted to retire in 3 years. So, yeah, I wanted to do 25, and I had set up my retirement that way. But, yeah, I just couldn't do it. The way the department was going and headed and all the things they were doing, I was fixing to get myself in trouble because everything that they're doing now goes against everything I was ever taught in corrections for the first 17, 18 years. And so the way the department's going and how unsafe it is, and I just had to come say something because it's completely ridiculous. As a matter of fact, I got
Go ahead.
As a matter of fact, I've gotten several calls, I probably got 40 or 50 calls of people telling me, and it's made me feel really good, telling me, we love exactly what you're doing. Keep it up. You're out there, you're telling the truth. Oh my God, you're 100% telling the truth. We love that you're, trying to help us and stuff. So, it's been rewarding in that, just trying to get the word out and help people.
That's why you're rewarding about it, because you're helping other people.
I'm trying.
God put us here to help other people too. We should be going. Oh, here we go. Here we go.
Yeah. Bob, I don't want to talk about what I've done in my history. I want to talk about something that I'm working on becoming, my new venture, and that's a songwriter. I'm thinking about becoming a songwriter. Just want to share a couple of lyrics that I've just wrote just while we're sitting here. let me clear my voice. Lay that pistol down, son. lay that pistol down. Pistol packing director, won't you lay that pistol down? Sitting in your office, having lots of fun. Then you had an accident and you dropped your gun. Lay that pistol down, son. Lay that pistol down. Pistol packing director, won't you lay that pistol down?
Now that's good. Julie, you got one?
I was singing Jingle Bells, Director's Got a Gun.
It don't take a whole lot to entertain Bob, but I had to get that in before everybody.
I understand. Well, you know, I have to say anybody can make mistakes. There, you know, you can make a mistake, but when you try to cover it up, or you, I don't know why you just can't say, "Hey, I made a mistake," but why you got to go out and make all these excuses? Like, well, they've been other people's done this and everything. Why don't you just admit, be a man up once in a while, and admit you're making mistakes?
Here's where I'm at, Bob, with this. I don't have a problem with making mistakes. I make lots of mistakes. I think
I do too.
But I do have a problem if you're going to carry 4 guns. I'm told that he carries 4 guns. Have you been to cleat? Have you been through training? Did you qualify? Because here's the deal. When I mean, if we didn't qualify, we got terminated. And it's pressure on officers. Let me tell you something. It's pressure on officers to qualify. And if they don't qualify, they lose their job. And if you carry a weapon, so if you're going to be handed an M14, you qualify with an M14. If you carry a pistol, you have to qualify. If you got 2 pistols, you have to qualify. If you carry a shotgun, you have to qualify. You have to go through safety training. If you carry those and they're not checked into an armory, so correctional officers check their gun into an armory and they have to check them out and it's logged, and you have to have all your training and all of that's logged. And then if you carry them all the time on you, you have to be cleat certified. Is my understanding now. But then the policy says if you discharge that you have to do an incident report. I think I asked for a copy.
Hey, JJ, we'll get into that in just a second, but I want to.
I'm fired up, Bob.
Well, you're fired up, but you're getting ahead of me there, buddy. This morning, I don't know. I got two doodles. They weigh 90 pounds. They sleep with me. And every morning I wake up, they got their face right in my face. I mean, I look up and there they are. And they're wanting me to get up and I got to go outside. I got to pee. You know, they're going crazy and they get all upset. So I was going to get up, but I had a thought and I wanted to write it down while I had my thought, while I had my mind going. And it goes like this, you know, basically I can understand how nervous it makes everyone with no law enforcement credentials or training walking around in a uniform or carrying a badge and a gun. Wow. Holy cow. It's a bird. It's a plane. It's director. He's here. So everybody knows he's here. Everybody knows he's got a gun now. So, Representative, you take the floor, buddy.
Well, I mean, here's the deal. What I am saying is that if you're going to do that, quit. You're totally unqualified. If there's anybody that ought to go through the classes and ought to take the training and ought to be safety and working on that, then it's that person. And yet, what do we see that person doing? That person gets 4 guns. I worked for 20 plus years. I carried my own personal pistol. They didn't assign me a shotgun. They didn't assign me. And guess what? I was going to labs, arresting people. What does he need all of those for? But if he's going to carry them, that's okay. But then, go through the training, go do what everybody else does. But at the end of the day, that you would try to cover that up. And we know you tried to cover it up. And we know why you came forward, because I wrote you a letter. And then you got to diss me out there. I wrote you the letter on the backside. I had reporters calling me, and I asked you to send me your policy. You would not send me your policy. And again, have you followed that policy? Pretty certain you hadn't. And then again, you're going to try to cover it up. And here's what's funny.
Let's read that policy. Let's read the policy so everybody knows. This just so everybody knows that the director's in his office, his gun accidentally went off. The use of force policy OP 050108 states in the event of a weapon is discharged intentionally or accidentally, the employee will be drug tested as soon as possible in accordance with OP with 110602, entitled for cause of drug and alcohol testing program. They didn't do this. They said it wasn't necessary. On this policy, it doesn't say you get tested if we don't think you're drunk or you don't think you've had alcohol. It doesn't say, it says you will.
I mean, odds are he probably didn't have anything in his system at all.
Right.
But all the more reason to follow policy, and you're expecting other people to follow policy. Wouldn't you be? I mean, errant discharge of it. I'd ask who's got the policy. We got to follow this to a T because he's under a microscope.
Also,
I'll
his
tell
gun
you
is
what.
confiscated to look at to make sure there's not some malfunction with it. I don't know if they did that or not, but they definitely didn't follow this policy because they said they didn't. They didn't think they had to.
Hey, Jason, do you have
Yes.
to write an incident? I mean, you've been.
Oh, as a matter of fact, I had a guy at Veneta before I left. He had he fired his pistol. He was trying to clear it and in a bucket in the car, and he had actually shot himself in the leg. This just happened. So we took him off, and he got drug tested and stuff. We took him off work. He couldn't work in the armory no more. You have to take that pistol immediately. You have to put it up. It has to be recertified by an armorer. IG comes in. There's an investigation done on that immediately. There's so many steps. That's a major thing. And then for them to put out something that we've had 9 in the last, you know what? That's a big thing. I just went through that about probably 8 months ago, maybe 8-9 months ago, and it's a big thing. He couldn't work. That officer couldn't even work in the. He was our armorer, but he couldn't work there, be around weapons, do any of that till everything he was cleared on that.
Well,
Yeah.
I think it's just what it is rules for thee, but not for me. That's what the policy is there. And he can violate policy, and that's okay because
Well,
he's
I
the
do
director.
He did make a big deal when I was there. I know that there was lots of conversations about the fact that he had gone to the range and had qualified with weapons. Now, which weapons, I don't know. But I know there was lots of conversations about it because I remember asking, so why does the director need a gun? Does the director normally typically carry a gun? Is that necessary? I mean, I guess if he wants to carry one, great, awesome. But
if you get in a vehicle wreck,
better follow policy.
Hey, Julie, then if you did go to the range, I mean, if he went to the range, then they ought to be happy to produce
100%.
What scores did he shoot? And again, Director, if you're listening, if you backdate those or you change those, I know you'd never do such.
Did he have a 40-hour block?
It's pretty easy to prove all that. That's where the lie starts to come unraveled, when you start falsifying documents, and then we look and see, did that range really get checked in?
JJ, he's supposed to have a 40-hour block
Jason's
to even be able to go shoot. Does he have when our guy, I had to show where he had the 40-hour block, and then I had to show his qualification card. I mean, there's a lot to it. It isn't just, at least there is for everybody else, but maybe him. Maybe rules don't matter to him, because he doesn't seem to follow them anyway.
Why do you have to go out and start making excuses? Just say, hey, I did it as an accident, and everybody understands accidents. I mean, everybody, it can happen.
We're humans.
But why do you have to go and go spend researching how many you've had the last, he didn't know, nobody knew that in the top of their head. And to try to make it like it happens everyday occurrence.
But
JJ, how many times did you shoot yourself there with your gun? Or shoot the floor?
Bob, I actually called my supervisor that I had and a couple of other people that I served with, and I was in there 20 plus years. That guy was 25 years. He did tell me, my supervisor did remember one accidental discharge. I remember none in my whole career. The couple other people I talked to that worked about the same time didn't remember any. And so to act like we've had 9 this year, if that's true, then what's going on that we can go 20 years that we can't even remember one? Because that's pretty, as we're talking about this one, it gets out there. I mean, it's a big, big deal. He wants to make like it is it's one of the biggest deals out there. And here's where I'm at, Bob and Julie and Jason. Y'all see whether y'all follow my logic. But around that same time, we had a person OD at a facility, and some lieutenants and other people were trying to get there, and they were hesitating and said, hey, go put on staff vests. This is my understanding. But they're trying to render aid, can't render aid, and they get demoted and fired. Here they're doing 50 jobs, and they're trying to do that job. They get demoted and fired. These are people with long, you're
30 years, 30 years with no discipline.
Yeah. And you're going to
she had 22 years with no discipline. And they got to blame somebody for the death. It's always, they don't take the guy supposedly died of an overdose, but him and his cell buddy got in a fight, but he died of an overdose. But here's the thing is, if we had correct amount of people there, that dope may have not even got in there. It's why so much fentanyl is getting into the prisons, because we're so short-handed. They don't want to take it. They don't want to take any type of the blame on them. It's the director's fault. He's mismanaged this to the tilt. But they got this time, they stand up and take the blame that they messed up.
Well, and Bob, did you see where he put out in the directors meeting this week that he had one officer per 15 inmates? Have you guys seen that?
No.
He put that out to all the DOC officers and staff this week, his directive or whatever, but he said there was one officer to 15 inmates.
Is that one per staff member, or is he counting officers who have been in uniform prior, like a case manager or a unit manager that was an officer prior? Because I know he was talking about officers, one officer to 15 inmates.
Well, some of them got one officer to 240 inmates.
Yeah, that would.
Right now they're stealing. We're having officers that are case managers, staff members that are case managers that are having to go work post because they were officers prior, because we don't have enough people. Well,
that would make 88 officers at Dick Connors, and they've got about 12 or 14. So I don't know where he came up with that logic.
Well, the only thing that really aggravates me about this whole thing, and not just this incident here or at OSP where they did this, but what is aggravating is they make up these stories about these guys, the officers. It's always their fault. And they don't blame in that we don't have enough people. We're shorthanded. Just admit you're shorthanded, and we're going to try to do something about it. But nothing's happening.
Right.
We hire 50, we get 60 quit.
Hey, guess what I want to see? I want to see his travel claims. I want to see his travel, and I want to see where he's been going. Because with those numbers that he's putting out, he must be traveling around with hunters smoking crack. Because I'm going to tell you, I don't see it.
Hey, Bob, before you get any further, I've had a lot of officers and lieutenants and stuff ask me saying, hey, they want to know, especially the new officers, they're scared to join. A lot of them are still scared to join for retaliation. So they want to know, everybody at DOC, there's so many new people because all the old ones are gone, but everybody wants to know exactly what OCP does for the Department of Corrections.
Well, first of all, OCP was started 12 years ago for a voice, so they didn't have a voice, and that's why they were started. The $15 a month that someone pays, basically, if you had to have an attorney to represent you, that would take you 8 years or 10 years of payment, what they would want up front. We have an officer, we have a lawyer on staff who represents you, which that's not, nobody else has anything like that, but you just have a voice that you have that can take care of you. And quite frankly, most of the cases that we win, I would say 99% of the cases we win, except they keep challenging, going to the next level, to the next level, to the next level. Their whole ideal is to try to break OCP. If you're scared, you're going to get intimidated. They just put out a press release the other day. They said they don't intimidate people. They don't do that. Did you see that, Julie?
Yeah, because they were referred to me when they said it.
Yeah.
They said that they had
but they
no
don't
knowledge.
do things like that. So
I never told anybody how I felt.
I don't know why
Never
the guys
had
are afraid, because they don't retaliate. So
No.
they said it themselves.
Well, I can tell you, everybody in the
you have a legal right to belong to OCP. It's, you have nothing wrong. We were approved by the state. We are a legal representative of the people of DOC.
I also want to say too, Bobby, you guys also do a great job going to the Capitol and really supporting DOC staff, making sure that those representatives remember us, that they don't forget about DOC staff members. Also, I know you've also helped been a part of helping write some laws and whatnot, correct?
We have.
And to pass some bills.
JJ and I have passed several bills. In fact, I'll tell you this much: the 30% raise they got 2 years ago, I guess it's now, that was JJ and I and Director Crow working together to get something, making something happen. You know, the stab vest that you have, that was my ideal. I had to fight them on the stab vest. They said they didn't need the stab vest. They don't need it. I went to a seminar. Excuse me, just a minute, Justin.
Come on.
I went to a seminar when I first came in office, which I didn't want to go to, but I'm glad I did now. And it was made up of all people like me, but most of those places were unions. And so there was probably 200 people there, represented a number of states. But I stood up and asked the question, how many of you have stab vests in your prison? 100% of them said, I would not go in that prison without a stab vest. 100% of them. And we don't have them. And they said we didn't need them. But you know what happened on this last incident right here, before they terminated this guy? The director, the warden comes down and says, hey, where's your stab vest? Go get your stab vest. They didn't have them. Go get your stab vest on. You have to have them in certain pods they work on there. So the stab vest does make a difference. It saves people's lives. So that's one of the things that we did do. Go ahead, JJ.
Can I speak? Hey, while you were saying writing, I was writing what we've done since Bob has become OCP director. So the first thing we did, we got a $2 raise that nobody ever even thought that we could
right
get.
Off the bat.
We got it right off the bat. They stole that, but it doesn't show me as the author. It'll show somebody else, but they know I was the one worked on it, and it would have never got done if Bob hadn't have been. He was the guy that did it. Second, we left out about 400 people. So the next year we came back and got 400 people a $2 raise. The next year we came in, or maybe that same year, we filed a bill to get probation pro officers raises.
Got that.
That didn't come through the legislator, but DOC, because of that, agreed to give it. The next year we got a $43 million raise for everyone, 30% for several of them. Biggest thing ever happened in corrections. We filed a bill to get captains' pay. They made us. They didn't make us. We agreed to not pursue that. If they would do it, they did it.
That was the overtime, where they get paid for overtime.
Yeah, and Harpe's taking credit for that. And I'm proud that they're to be given some credit because they did agree to do it, and they kept their word.
They kept their word.
And so I'll give them credit where they.
He did?
He did.
Uniforms.
He did. Justin Ferris did.
Yes.
Okay.
Did thing on uniforms. We were going to get I filed a bill to get a $150 uniform allowance. They asked me, would you just let us buy the uniforms? If y'all will buy quality uniforms, okay, we backed up on that. They did buy the uniforms, kudos to them, but we were a big part of that. Teachers got a lawsuit filed. A lot of people ain't talking about
this. This is a big one.
This is huge. They won that lawsuit. If you're a teacher in the Department of Corrections, you ought to, shame on you if you don't join.
It took 3 years and a lot of money.
Absolutely. We have filed so many, I can't even talk about how many cases we have filed for people, protected them, that me and Bob have actually went to the lawyer with them. We've actually went to Sayre. I've actually volunteered to go into a court with several people in McAllister, several people at Sayre. Again, because of OCP and Bob calling me. So we 90%, 95% of the discipline they have filed that's been taken to their own kangaroo court, we have won with that. So if you're going to be disciplined, you want, and if you're an OCP member, then you get free representation by one of the best lawyers who know DOC. So there's that, as well as 16 hours back to back. We've stopped that.
I forgot about that one.
I mean, that's what I can write off while y'all sitting there talking off the top of my head what we've done. There's nobody else doing that kind of stuff for you, as well as you see us out every day calling out the wrongs, calling out the things, and trying to protect you and better your life. We've got to get staffing changed. We've got to get some help. What Jason was talking about a while ago, that's the number one problem. And you don't hear them talking about it. You hear them talk about new offices, computers, and we need all that. That's not a problem. But the number one problem is staffing, and for them to go on and tell legislators and lie to people, that is the most dangerous thing. and it's wrong. It's criminal, in my opinion, of what they're doing.
Well, they want to put out there that it's dangerous being a prison. It's dangerous. But let me ask you a question: is it not dangerous being a police officer or highway patrolman when you stop that car in the middle of the night on Interstate 35? That's dangerous. But what would happen if the highway patrol guy got stabbed? What would happen? Be on front page news. Our guys get stabbed. It's just another deal. They try to cover it up, or they don't want to announce it where people know it. They used to send us out a list of all the different incidents. They stopped doing that because there's so many of them. They didn't want to be noticed.
I'm hearing from several that Allen Gamble is having a major incident every day.
They are. Right.
Something, every day, whether it be a stabbing, a major beatdown. One the other day got tied up and they stabbed him, an inmate. But I'm hearing every day, and I'm hearing that from high up people, how dangerous these things are. I heard that over the weekend over at Connors, I know for a fact it was either Saturday night or Sunday night. They didn't have a tower. They didn't have a yard. They didn't have somebody to do surveillance. So a tower, a yard, nobody for seance, and one of the housing units wasn't manned. Tell me that officer wouldn't get fired if an inmate died on that unit and was dead for a couple hours and there was no officer to man that.
What we got.
Tell me how that would go over.
Here's what we got wrong. When the director comes out and says we got one officer for how many? 15 people?
15.
Yes.
15 people. That is a flat out lie. Now, why he would go and say that when the people in the prisons know it's not right?
Can I see I want to see his record keeping on that. Can I see his numbers? Can we fact check that one?
Well, we use that.
Well, Bob,
math. But
that's exactly what.
Though, I answer my phone 24 hours. I get calls at 12:30 at night, 1:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock. I answer whatever it is. I answer it. I really enjoy doing what I do. I don't enjoy it today like I did before Harpe came. But I really enjoyed it, and it's been a savior for me because it's kept me busy, kept my mind busy, and it's worked for me. But I have learned I really love these people that work in the prison. You wouldn't believe how many people in the prison that I don't even know sent me condolences for my wife. I mean, I was surprised, happy, that they would think about me, but then go to that trouble to send something to me. But I like the people in the prisons because I see how hard they work. I see what they got to put up with. I see they get blamed for stuff that's not their fault. They try to blame everything. Anytime there's a death, it's the officer's fault. They said we got they deal at 45 minutes after it happened. They kill the guy and they get there 45 minutes. I beat him up, almost killed him, and it took them 45 minutes to get there. Go ahead, JJ.
Well, I just want your listeners to listen to this because Jason was saying something a while ago and it reminded me. I had a little pop in my head the other day and I thought, that guy that got stabbed there in Allen Gamble, the officer that got stabbed, I was wondering, did they file charges on the inmate that stabbed him? Because I was thinking like you did. They don't, they try to bury all this. They don't put our officers up and show how dangerous the job is like it would a trooper or something. So I also found out that a guy there, an officer there, got hit in the back of the head with the tray, requiring like 20 stitches or
21 staples.
21 staples. So
21.
I did just for the fun of it. I called, found out what the inmate's name was.
I bet they didn't charge him with nothing.
Well, I called down to Hughes County because Allen Gamble's in Hughes County, and I called to Hughes County. It turns out they did file charges. I was shocked that they did.
Well, that's good.
On the stabbing person.
No, what about the guy who got hit in the head?
No charges. So we're hitting 50%. But can you imagine if somebody came up behind a trooper, hit them in the head with any item, it's called assault battery with dangerous weapon, whatever the weapon be, and that they hit the officer in the head, required 21 staples, and no charges filed. And so, again, I called the county. According to the county, I had the inmate name, all of that. No charges that they could see. So I want to make sure, as far as I know, I did do my due diligence and did that. Now, my question and what I want to talk to our listeners, if you know an officer who's been assaulted and there's been give it a month or so, 3 weeks, a month, ample time for them to file charges on. And you don't think they filed charges, send me that officer's name, send me the inmate's name, date of birth if you got it or something, DLC, I can look them up. But anyway, send me the information where I can get the information on the inmate that should be charged, and I will call. Now, we have to know which inmate did it. We have to know, but again, if you
have his number.
I would be interested, is the Department of Corrections protecting our officers, filing those charges? I don't feel they are, and so I'd like to
can tell you, I know for a fact they're usually not fired because I've been through several incidents where my officers have been assaulted. And typically it would have to be major, but no, typically it is not filed. I know that for a fact.
Well, Jason,
and I'll tell you what, I would like to get a hold of the attachment H's in corrections just the last 2 months. That'd blow everybody's mind if they saw all the attachment H's, because one of those has to be filed and sent up within 2 hours of a major incident, or supposed to be. But I bet you it would, man.
Well,
I bet you Allen Gamble would have at least 2 or 3 a day.
Jason, you write me what you're talking, what you want. And
I know exactly what it is. I know exactly what it is.
Well, I will subpoena those records. I will get our staff not to ask, to subpoena those records. We'll get down to, maybe that's the way we finally, but I want to ask you one question, then I want to get out of Bob's way. But Jason, as an officer, that you see our officers being assaulted, that our administration does not follow up with charges like that, with a person 21 staples, and they don't even file up with charges, how does that make you feel?
Oh, it infuriates me. Like I said, they have gotten so much more lax, especially these last few years. The officers, the inmates have more rights now than a lot of the officers. It's absolutely, it just blows my mind. Some of them, they don't even lock up. We'll have assaults and they won't even lock up the inmates anymore. And I can tell you another thing, because we always call Internal Affairs, and they're always right there to do it, that to come in and investigate. But I'm telling you what, a lot of Internal Affairs, a lot of stuff that they send up, it doesn't go anywhere. It's all, We're
going back to what OCP does, how we can help. Nobody should feel threatened for joining OCP. If you do, that's really something wrong. That's major something wrong. That warden or Harpe, I don't care who it is, has no right to say anything to you about being an OCP member. I had wardens that were OCP members at one time. They're not saying anything to the officers, but because the deputy warden and the wardens and the chief walk on eggshells so bad, scared of getting fired every day. They see that. All the officers see how that the wardens and deputies and chiefs have to work. So they see that. So it's just known. I mean, you're not going to do anything. Everybody knows you don't want to do anything to piss anybody off especially above the wardens, or, everybody's heart stops when they see one of the warden's boss coming in who's getting fired now or whatever.
They're terrified.
It's that bad. So they're not going to want to do anything that they feel.
I'm telling you, it's not that bad. They don't retaliate.
But it is in the prisons, Bob. It is in the prisons.
They don't do that. They don't retaliate against anybody or anything like that. They put it out in paper that they don't do that. I'm going to say this.
When I was at Hinton, they had an incident where, because we were getting lots of inmates in all at once, there's not any real processes set up. Staff were doing the absolute best they could. They had an issue with count where they were off in numbers by 1. They ended up figuring out what the issue was. But I walked into the area where staff is trying diligently to try to correct count. And Jim Ferris is on speakerphone screaming at staff members, threatening to fire them. Calling them every name in the book, cursing at them. And these people were trying their absolute best in a bad situation.
Now, wait a minute. He doesn't cuss.
The day that the lieutenant was
walked, y'all assholes.
I'm gonna say this: the day that lieutenant was walked out of Hinton because she requested staff members to come help her in the pods because inmates were getting out. he sat there screaming at her. And then he went to staff members and told us about the issue, calling her names, all sorts of things. So I know for a fact that's a false statement. I've heard him on multiple occasions.
They're bullies, and it's known all through the prison. They're bullies.
But when they come out,
They bully people, and that's why I come to help you all. And I would love to have a meeting with Director Harpe and all of us sit down with the governor, with the speaker, whoever. I would love to, because I don't have anything whatsoever to hide.
No,
I
neither
would
do
love
I.
for the director to meet with me. I've made 3 attempts, and guess how far that's gone.
He has open door policy. He told me that. Anybody can come and see him anytime they want.
Not if your name's Julie Thompson.
Hey, can I speak to the wardens and to the deputy wardens on here? Guys, I know that you're afraid. I know the hostile environment you work in. I've worked in it myself. I know the threats and I know all the things. But if y'all would all get together and join, and what statement that would make to your other employees, and once we band together, the stronger our association is, the more, it doesn't matter when Harpe's gone, there's going to be somebody else. And when you got a strong association that they have to answer to, we need a strong board. We need a strong director. We got a strong director. When you got that, guess what? They're going to cower down to you, not you have to cower down to them. But the reason, as long as they keep y'all divided and keep you scared, they operate through fear and intimidation. Quit being afraid. File up, get up, and they can't fire every one of you. And then and don't give them the document. When they ask you, I'd be writing them every day. We're running shorthanded. We're having to violate these policies. And I would be sending that in every day saying it's on y'all, not on us. Document it. And yeah, it's going to make them mad, but you cover yourself and you'll be all right.
It's
Well,
funny you say
talk
that.
about what OCP does. We have a board. The board is voted in by the members. And we have
How can I get on the board, Bob?
Well, right now we don't have anything set for retirees, but we need to have that. But we got to have a regular meeting, a regional meeting, not regional, but statewide meeting for everybody to come to that could vote. And they would vote that you could be a member and also be on the board. I mean, I think it'd be ideal to have a retiree on the board, especially being the president, because then he doesn't have to worry about when the director calls him and says, hey, I don't like what Cleveland's doing, or I don't like this, I don't like that. Well, that's just the way it goes. But
yeah, I would love to be on the board and try to figure out.
We got to get a meeting going, and with but it has 5 members, and I think we have 3 board members now. But whenever I started, the board members were very active. I mean, they were getting members right and left. I had one board member would get me 30 members a month, but the board members were really active in getting new members. This board we have now, they're not as active of what the other boards were. And I don't know, it's just different people.
You used to go around to the facilities more too and talk to the people. I remember way back in the day, and it might've been OPA or whatever, but they used to bring pizza around and talk to the people, and they were allowed and everybody would listen, and they got to, be more personable and stuff.
I used to be able to do that. In fact, when Director Crow was here, which I thought Director Crow was a good director and I really liked him, but he had a setup where I would, instead of coming to him with problems, he had me get with Justin here. There's about this going on over here, or this guy's going this or what that, whatever. And then Jason had a person I went and talked to about it. They talked about it. We could stop it right then instead of going further and taking the time up from the attorney. We stopped it right then. It's working out great. Now they didn't agree with me always, but we had come to agreement on most of them that there's something there. We negotiated, they talked, and they were interested at that time that when Director Harpe come in, I'm not allowed in the prisons. They've been told not to even speak to me. They will walk right by me and knock me down, but they won't even speak to me, especially if the director's around.
That's how a narcissist operates.
I've never seen anything like this, but he will not take my calls. He does not take my emails, but we have an attorney. We take it through him, paying him. He loves it because he's getting more business. Because before we were getting it over with. When I took over, we had $25,000 of owing our attorney. I got that paid down the first year. But it's that's frustrating that people would be afraid, because you shouldn't have to be afraid
No.
to be a member.
Well, and here's the deal: if he'll retaliate against a legislator, and I can promise you, he's come out publicly and retaliated against me. And again, I wouldn't make up songs on most directors if they'd halfway treat me right. He ain't never. I mean, he's. If he wants to know why I give him hell, you started it, so we'll see what happens, you know. But the arrogance of when we're trying to have a hearing and he won't even respond to you to say, yes, I will come or won't come, that he decides who he will bring and won't bring, that his employees show up and say, we're not saying a word, we're not going to testify. The arrogance of how they ignore court orders and just, we're not going to do that, we'll appeal it. And, just how he can violate policy, how he ignores policy, and nothing is supposed to be said. And if you do, and that's why he doesn't want.
Well, the HR directors are actually supposed to hand them our brochures when somebody comes in. That's what they're supposed to do. They don't do that anymore. They don't.
No, they don't do that.
They've taken that away from us, and I just have to keep fighting. But I'm not. I'm retired, but I got into this thing. I'm put both feet in it. And I'll fight it, and I'll do it if I don't even get paid.
But Jason, the thing about it is, what I would ask, and Julie, I would ask, who else without OCP? Who else is fighting? How else does that information get out there? I can tell you, if it wasn't for Bob pushing on this, I would still be interested as a former employee. I love DOC. I'm like you, Jason. I'm out here to try to do better. Julie, you're the same. But the thing about it is without OCP, we wouldn't have that voice. We wouldn't have you think about shortage of officers, the stabbings, the violence, the rape cover up, the shower cover up, the kitchen cover up, all of these things, would not come to light, how they treat their employees.
Well, JJ, the director made a comment. I think I seen it maybe in a press release or something, that you are a critic of his. Now, there's one thing about being a critic, and one thing about what you're doing is wrong. But we don't go out and blast you, and we talk about facts. We stick with the facts. And Jason, we've talked about this, that we try to substantiate when we hear something several times before we go and bring it to the attention. But what we get to, we can hold back. We hold them back a lot of times on stuff that's going on. It's so bad. Mm-hmm. But
it's awful. I've never seen the department in the shape that it is now, and it's sad and it's scary. And I'm telling you, somebody's going to end up getting hurt really, really bad or dying or something, because the officers have no control, and there's just not enough people to do it. They don't have enough people to have control.
But they're looking at,
and I don't understand why still at this point, I don't understand why more people aren't listening. I mean, and I know some are, because I've been to the city and stuff, and I know more people are listening, but something needs to be done, and it needs to be done immediately.
But if you're scared of the director, if you're scared that he's going to retaliate, because I was that employee, I was willing to go down with the ship. I was willing to give whatever until I realized that they weren't willing to give for me. And so if you're terrified of the director and you're terrified for your paycheck and your job, I feel bad for the ones right now in administration that are having to be around him. I really wish some of them would contact us. I know there have been a few that have, but I really wish more would, because I can't imagine. You mentioned it earlier. It's kind of like working underneath a dictator. I cannot imagine that pressure that they live under. Well,
and if they're at the 92%, how come all these mediums are working 70, 80 hours a week if we're at 92% staffing?
Hey, there's so many ways to verify that, Jason, that we can prove that. To sit here and say that and then say, oh, well, they're wrong. Bull, I can prove it all. Just like that firearms deal. There's too much documentation in DOC that's what their slippery slope, and they don't understand it. And then not just there, guys. You think that it's not, I get called in for being a troublemaker, for just stirring up problems. Everybody hates you. And that's what Director Harpe tries to put on me. The DAs try to put on me because I call them out. Let me tell you something. They wouldn't care if we were wrong. They would not care. They would write you off and you would not amount to anything. And they would be out there showing you you're wrong. What makes them mad, what makes them angry, and you know when they're hating your guts, when you go up to Capitol and everybody's, hey, Jay, you're making everybody mad. Yeah, I'm making people mad because I'm telling the truth. And you know what really bothers them is we can verify it. We can prove we're telling the truth. And that's
you know what Harpe took away from us? Grievance. They don't have a grievance procedure now.
Yeah, they took that away. What, the first of 23? 23, they took the whole grievance process away. The whole merit protection. When did merit protection was taken away? What, the first of 23?
Yes. And
all he's done since he's come in is take away from the staff, take away rules to help protect the staff.
If this is true. I've heard this, that he's trying to take away the retirement after 20 years. Have you heard that?
Let me ask you.
I haven't heard that.
They said they got a memo on it.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you this. He was the orchestrator at OMES who cut your merit protection. That he was one of the main players in that. He took credit. He sat right there in my office one day and said, I'm the one to come up with that. Well, boy, I said, hey, that ain't worth. In fact, I won't even say what I said because I said that ain't worth it. Me, but anyways, he was killing that before he ever even got it.
Well, let me give you an example of something. When you get a letter of recommend or whatever termination, you put down on there the number of issues you had, the date, and why you had these issues, right? Right, Jason?
Mm-hmm. Trying to justify.
Okay, you fill it out, and you do that right. Well, guess what? They got one employee that had 2 minor letters in her file. They go to court, they come up with 9. They want to present 9. The judge wouldn't allow it. They went back and made up a bunch of deals to make it look like it's more than what she has. I mean, it's awful what happened and what this attorney's doing.
Yeah, it's awful. Like I said,
we're not on a same level. They are trying everything in the world to shut us down. They're trying everything in the world that the employees have no rights, no concern. They do what they tell them. And this policy they have is killing us on hiring people. When they want to hire people, then they can put them anywhere they want to put them.
And they don't even get to see their facility that they're going to before they get hired, so they quit. And we wonder why it's the most asinine.
If you're that
is the most asimine thing.
It's stupid. It's stupid when you change that.
All the wardens hate that. All the wardens hate that. The facilities, because they would take so much more pride in getting their people hired. At the city, like I said, we had 22 or 23 on a list, and my HR did everything they could to get 2 or 3 of them in. I don't know. It's almost like he was sent to DOC to have it fail. And the 2 that are underneath him, if they've got any deal, if the 2 underneath him have any DOC sense, they know that it's wrong. I think Ferris, Justin must be just sitting back laughing, thinking he's going to be the next director, because it's crazy what this director's doing. It's absolutely insane. I've never seen the likes of it. And most people would agree with me.
It's looking like to me that the longer you've been there, the more they want to get rid of you. When you talk about these 2 people at OSP for 30 years, now how many officers do you know can go 30 years and not have any kind of discipline?
I got to let Julie talk. Julie, you just got to interrupt him. You got to.
No, he's fine. No, just 100%. Actually, I lost my train of thought. Jay, go ahead, Bobby. Take it away.
I forgot.
Oh, we both.
No, but it looks like they're really trying to get rid of the long-termers and put these new people in. And I don't know, guess they don't know the policy or anything, and they can bully them more. But how can you take a guy 32 years and the other person's 22 years with neither one of them having any type of major disciplines? And you're going to fire one and demote one.
If you look at some of the people in administration who have stepped down, or they've resigned, or they've transferred to a different agency, or even they were demoted. When you start digging into the numbers and seeing the people who are even demoted because they wanted to go along with it or they disagreed. And I think that's sometimes some of the pushback. And I kind of wonder on my case if that was the reason the director never spoke with me, because I pushed back and I asked questions. And I spoke up, and there was a couple of comments I made about Jim Ferris that I kind of wondered back now if that's part of the reason I never got to meet with the director, was because of comments I made about Jim Ferris and his leadership style.
Well,
yeah,
he does have a bad language. He gets upset. He does use some bad language. I think JJ even can contest to that. But
if they can't intimidate their wardens, they don't want them as a warden. I can tell you that. If they can't, they want wardens and stuff that are just going to say yes, sir, and cower. And that's the kind of culture they have really tried to create.
But they don't care who they get rid of.
We don't bully. We don't treat people like that. We don't bully anybody, ever.
But they don't. It's just amazing. We're shorthanded, and they don't care who they fire. They don't care if this guy's a perfect guy, shows the work every day. If they decide to fire him, they fire him.
They don't care about those officers and that staff out there that are in those prisons every day. The director could give a care less about any of that.
Well,
and then, like I said, they're not even auditing prisons anymore to make sure everybody's even on the same page.
They're going back to auditing here pretty soon, though. They're reassembling that audit team. But I got a phone call this week from an individual who was talking about that she had been threatened multiple times just last week. And I was talking to her about documenting. I was like, please tell me you're documenting. And she's like, absolutely, I am. But she was talking about how shorthanded they were with staff members. And she goes, Julie, when I walk into that facility right now, she goes, I'm having to pat myself down in front of a camera. And I made the comment, I was like, so you're just acting for a camera? And she's like, oh yeah, I could be carrying in lots of stuff, but I'm over here patting myself down, running it through a detector.
Go ahead, JJ.
Well, let me tell y'all something, though, that we're not, and I think, Bob, you alluded to this a minute ago, but it's one thing to fire a guy that's been there 3 months, right's right and wrong's wrong. But you got somebody that showed up 20, 30 years, been a quality employee, and you just
let them go.
But here's the problem. Are you doing that because you're trying to get the employees who know, and this is what they're doing, in my opinion. That employee with 20 years, 30 years knows the policy. They know what's wrong. They know what you take either one of the two sitting right here. Hey, they walk in, hold it. That's not right. That's not policy. They don't want somebody who knows policy. They want somebody who will blindly follow whatever they tell them, who they can walk in, intimidate, and fire because they don't know the policy. People who
You're absolutely right.
Absolutely. People with 20 years, they're worried about their job, but they're not as intimidated because they know, hey, look here, you can save that for somebody else. And they can walk off. They don't want that person who can stand up to them. They're running those people off. They're demoting them. And again, that's the most serious shortage of staff, but shortage of experience is all critical. That's your most critical issues. The knowledge, the wisdom, the training, all of that gone because they're running those people off intentionally, I think.
100%.
It sure looks like that. And I don't know what.
I would agree with that statement 1,000%. Yes.
Well, hey, I appreciate everybody tuning in today and everybody being here. But as far as being worried about becoming a member, you're not doing anything wrong. But I can tell you this: if you go try to find an attorney today, you're not going to get an attorney that's going to represent you for the most money up front. I had a guy tell me the other day he looked at paying the $15 a month. It looks like prepaid insurance for a lawyer.
Oh yeah,
we're there to help you, and they don't intimidate me. The Harpe, my grandson loves the guy.
Bob, I got one last thing I want to say.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to say that I'm going to, like I said, help you guys with whatever. I'm not going to stop helping you all. Any officers or anybody that wants to talk to me are more than welcome. And I'm going to do anything in my power to try to help get rid of that director.
Thank you.
I want to say that maybe I was wrong for opening with that song. I've been sitting here feeling a little guilty.
No.
Did you write a new one?
I'll come up with new lyrics. I'm just joking.
Oh, okay.
No, but I'm with Jason too. I mean, and I know all of us that are sitting here on this podcast, all of us have received phone calls from people. So that's just it. If you want to reach out, Facebook, if you have my phone number, whatever, for all of us, any of us, if there is a contact number for OCP that goes straight to Bobby. And
we
never-
Join OCP this week, guys. Join this week. We need you guys. We need all of you.
We don't give people's names out that call us. They don't want it. Then we don't list their name. But I appreciate you, and I guess we'll see what happens, what comes up next week, because it seems like it's every week. It's just a whole new something new. But appreciate it. God bless. See you guys.